From huge mindless beasts all the way to the incredibly smart monsters capable of destroying the entire world, these are all 15 numbered kaiju in Kaiju number 8. And let's start with Kaiju number 1. Kaiju number 1 was the first identified kaiju to ever receive a number. It was a beast with a massive body and numerous pink eyes. As you could probably guess, this kaiju was incredibly strong, with 𝐷𝐴𝐵 saying that its attacks were inescapable. This kaiju also had some kind of the future sight ability, which allowed it to predict its opponent's next move. At some point in the past, this kaiju was defeated by the defense force and turned into the numbers weapon 1. By the way, numbers weapons are basically weapons created from the defeated kaiju and usually take the form of a battle suit, which then gives the user kaiju abilities. Numbers weapon 1 is currently used by the 1st Division Captain Gen Narumi. Gen took kaiju number 1's abilities to another level once he trained with it and unlocked the power to sense shifts in temperature and terrain, along with the movements of electrons in the air. One done, still 14 left to go, and let's continue with kaiju number 2. Kaiju number 2 was basically a city-busting powerhouse capable of generating offensive sonic blasts. It was much stronger than its predecessor and was even nicknamed the Daikaiju of Destruction. It had green skin that was covered in heavy rock plates and a white rock mask on its face. Kaiju number 2 was easily able to destroy the entire city of Sapporo in the past, before eventually being taken down. Afterward, its body was turned into a weapon as well. Numbers weapon 2 is a pair of gauntlets and a black armor piece. With this weapon, the user can create energy blasts and can shield themselves from enemy attacks. This weapon was even powerful enough to hold back Kaiju number 8 while it was rampaging mindlessly. Also, the destructive power of this weapon made Isao Shinomiya the prime target for Kaiju number 9, showing just how much power it possessed. Kaiju number 3. The appearance of Kaiju number 3 was never revealed in the story. All we know is that it was defeated at some point, and it is now being used as a weapon by someone in the defense force. The exact user was never revealed. Kaiju number 4. When it comes to this kaiju, we really don't have much info about it. All we know is that Kaiju number 4 used to be a rather large flying creature that had a body resembling a caterpillar. It also had a flat face with a large mouth and scary eyes. It was said that this specific kaiju was notoriously hard to kill. Same as other numbered kaiju we covered so far, this one also became a numbers weapon, more specifically, a light-colored scaly suit. This suit gifts the user with a significant speed boost, and it can even allow the wearer to sprout wings and fly mid-battle. This numbers weapon was initially used by Hikari Shinomiya, but was later passed down to her daughter, Kikoru. Same as number 3, Kaiju number 5 was also weaponized at some point, but nothing else was ever revealed about it, so let's skip straight to number 6. Kaiju number 6 is a monster that's completely shrouded in mystery. We know that they used to call it the King of Kaiju, and that it was responsible for the death of Hikari. It was a dinosaur-looking creature that resembled Godzilla with 4 super long tails that looked like tentacles. While Kaiju number 6 was alive, it was responsible for several snowstorms that followed its every step. For the Japanese people, this kaiju was a symbol of despair, since it basically threw the nation into ruin. About 10 years ago, this kaiju successfully managed to kill over 200 Defense Force soldiers in one go, along with 3 captains. As hard as taking Kaiju number 6 down was, finding a decent host for its body was even harder. Up until Leno came along, the project was left scrapped since they couldn't find anyone compatible with Kaiju number 6's abilities. Numbers weapon 6 lets the user control temperature and gives them ice manipulating abilities. Leno later showed off how he could freeze an entire Titan within seconds. However, the user of this weapon has to be very careful, because the suit can even get cold enough to become an issue for the wearer themselves. Number 7 is another one of those kaiju that was never properly revealed, so let's get straight to the fan favorite, Kaiju number 8. Hundreds of years ago, after a bunch of samurai died while fighting a mega monster of the Meraki era, their regrets and hate of the fallen warriors pooled into the ground and took the form of a larva. Then, in the very first episode of the show, while Kafka was at the hospital, this same larva found him and decided to use him as a host. It crawled into Kafka's mouth and basically fused with him, turning him into the avatar of Kaiju number 8. In his Kaiju form, Kafka had an insect-like head, a body covered in what looks like dried charcoal, and muscles with protruding bones. The aura around Kaiju number 8 is usually very intense, but since Kafka retains perfect control over his body, he goofs off every now and then. Kaiju number 8 can basically do everything other Kaiju can, but better. It's got massive strength and excellent speed stats, along with abilities that allow Kafka to sense his environment. The thing that made Kaiju number 8 so powerful was the fact that Kafka kept continuing to improve while in his human form. He spent months training on his own before learning how to fight using squadron-style combat techniques. He then continued to level up throughout the story, whether it was increasing his synergy with his bodysuit or learning to rely less on his Kaiju abilities. For most of the story, Kaiju number 8's strength had no equal. Even something as intimidating as Kaiju number 9 avoided Kafka as much as it could. Kafka was even strong enough to bring this monster close to the brink of death several times over the course of the story. Kaiju number 8 was basically humanity's last hope when it came to facing threats that were bigger than they could handle. While the Defense Forces base was raided by the Kaijus, Kafka kept his cool and even wound up deflecting a bomb made of several preondactyls fused together. Later, when he got caught and was about to be executed, Kafka put up a great fight against the Director General of the Defense Force, 𝐂𝐸, one of the strongest high-ranking officials within the entire organization. However, things took an interesting turn when Kaiju number 8 slipped out of Kafka's control and gained a life of its own. It went on a rampage and nearly killed 𝐂𝐸 before Kafka managed to take back control of his body. However, despite his immense power, Kafka was still nowhere near as strong as the final form of Kaiju number 9. That is, until he fully accepted his transformation and allowed the monster to transform his heart into the core. Afterward, he changed into a pure white version of the Kaiju number 8, with even more terrifying features than before. And although Kaiju number 8 is impressive, Kaiju number 9 might be even crazier. At some point in history, this Kaiju looked like a giant humanoid mushroom baby. It was then guided into the cave where it found the hidden mega monster of the Mereki era, who bonded with number 9 and entered its body. Soon after, Kaiju number 9 gave life to several other Kaiju in order to carry out the mega monster's will of ending humanity. Making his debut in the first few episodes of the anime, Kaiju number 9 was just a regular mushroom monster when we first got introduced to him. He later disguised himself as a human to infiltrate a Defense Force aptitude test, which was certainly one of the most ballsy things a monster could do in this universe. Even then, his invisible supersonic speed bullets were a terrifying ability, but it was still nothing compared to what this monster would eventually become. He easily took down the strongest recruit in the 3rd Division, Kikoru Shinomiya. But when Kafka was almost about to destroy the monster's core, Kaiju number 9 had no choice but to escape the scene. Later on, when Kaiju number 9 reappeared, it wound up invading the Defense Forces headquarters with a legion of minions, some even stronger than itself. These monster minions were strong enough to keep up with other top-tier Defense Force officers like Mina and Soshiro. You see, what makes Kaiju number 9 interesting and dangerous is the fact that it's very familiar with monster anatomy and physiology, just like Kafka is. In fact, Kaiju number 9 can go even further beyond that by literally changing other monsters' biology or even resurrecting them back to life as mindless slaves. It even hijacks the bodies of other monsters and turns them into much more dangerous versions of themselves. The coolest thing about Kaiju number 9 is the fact that it is a brilliant strategist that even wound up tricking the late director of the Defense Force, 𝐂𝐸, and later absorbed him while Kafka was forced to watch helplessly. After absorbing 𝐂𝐸 along with Kaiju number 2, it turned into a buff tank with a long tail, 2 sets of red eyes, and huge arms. It also learned the squadron-style combat technique by absorbing 𝐂𝐸's memories. It took every trick in the book for Kafka to stand his ground against number 9, since the monster could basically adapt to anything. During the climax of the Last Wave arc, Kaiju number 9 built an entire army for itself. By every metric, Kaiju number 9 became one of the strongest Kaiju to ever exist. Even with the entire Defense Force backing him up, it still wasn't clear if Kafka could defeat this monster. However, once Kafka evolved into his new form, Kaiju number 8 overpowered number 9 and blasted his core apart. Once dead, Kaiju number 9's body morphed into the Mega Kaiju of the Meiji era. Soon after, with his own squadron-style combat techniques, Kafka, in his final form, managed to destroy the monster's core with a couple of earth-shattering punches and successfully save the world. Only 6 more kaiju are left to cover, and the last one is by far the creepiest monster in the entire story. Kaiju number 10. Unlike other monsters with a diverse set of abilities, this kaiju pretty much decided to put all of his stats into strength. Kaiju number 10 is the first of several monsters created by kaiju number 9, and it's a muscular powerhouse that loves the thrill of battle. We first saw it during the raid on Tachikawa base, ordering around a bunch of Priondactyls before jumping down from the sky. With its body, this monster can easily tank multiple strong attacks, including slashes from the 3rd Division's Vice Captain, Soshiro Hoshina. This feat basically put it on par with Kaiju number 8's strength at the time. It also has the ability to gigantify itself, control other kaiju using sonar, shapeshift, and regenerate at super impressive speeds. Although it took the combined might of all 3 of the 3rd Division's best officers to bring Kaiju number 10 down, this monster was still alive by the end of it. Once Soshiro earned his victory and the monster's respect, Kaiju number 10 willingly agreed to become a weapon made specifically for him. It had its shortcomings, but Numbers Weapon 10 is surprisingly one of the most lethal tools in the Defense Force's arsenal. This battlesuit has a giant tail growing out from behind it that can be used to attack or distract enemies. It also has a thirst for blood since Kaiju number 10's consciousness is still active inside it. Kaiju number 10 can also access Soshiro's mind and plan out tactics with his new host. It took them both a while, but they wound up achieving 100% combat power synchronicity with each other. Kaiju number 11. Kaiju number 11 looked like a whale shark dinosaur hybrid with a somewhat humanoid build. It spent the first few minutes of its life eating all the fish it could find before vanishing for a while. It then made its return during Kaiju number 9's Japan takeover plan, where it fought against the 1st Division captain, Gen Narumi. This kaiju had the ability to control water, and even though that sounds underwhelming, Kaiju number 11 could easily harm his opponents with jet streams strong enough to pierce through steel and concrete. Besides that, Kaiju number 11 also had immense strength, durability, regeneration, and an ability to enlarge its own muscles. This kaiju also came equipped with all of Issau's memories. This meant it was capable of handling anything Gen could throw at him using his Numbers Weapon 1. Kaiju number 11 was also a squadron-style combat expert, and it was able to use the unpredictable nature of water to get past Gen's ability to see into the future. The monster was doing pretty well during this battle, until Gen unveiled a secret technique that unlocked number 1's true potential. 11 was then destroyed soon after. Kaiju number 12. Kaiju number 12 is pretty much what Kaiju number 10 was meant to be. It's an upgraded muscle-bound monster with zero remorse. Unlike its predecessor, Kaiju number 12 was silent and methodical. It could instantly adapt to an opponent mid-fight and was far superior compared to its counterpart. Not only that, it was even overpowered enough to almost one-shot both Soshiro and his Numbers Weapon 10. It had the ability to turn its forearms and hands into extremely sharp blades and was arguably better at swordplay compared to Soshiro. This is insane considering Soshiro is the Defense Force's best close quarters fighter. Honestly, this overpowered kaiju would even give Kafka's final form a run for its money. Kaiju number 13. While Kaiju number 13 resembled its creator, Kaiju number 9, the most, it wasn't as impressive when it came to raw feats. This monster didn't even talk, and barely caused any damage compared to the rest of its siblings. After almost wiping out some of the 1st Division soldiers, Kaiju number 13's killing spree was immediately stopped once Kafka arrived on the battlefield. Excited to kill off their main target, Kaiju number 13 started storing up some energy for an all-out attack, but got parried and flung into a wall instead. And yeah, it died on impact. From what we saw during its brief time alive, Kaiju number 13 was capable of shape-shifting and possessed the same kind of strength and speed as most of its other siblings. Before we cover one of the most terrifying kaiju in the entire show, let's first quickly cover Kaiju number 14. Even in a world full of terrifying monsters, a black floating shape with smiling human faces on all sides is quite easily the most nightmare-inducing. There's almost nothing to really talk about when it comes to this monstrosity. We know it was able to teleport, create force fields, and fire energy attacks. It was easily killed off by 3rd Division Captain Mina Ashiro. Later, it was revived and turned into a portal by its creator, Kaiju number 9. Kaiju number 15. Kaiju number 15 trained to become the most dangerous kaiju to ever exist, not counting Kaiju number 9, of course. It resembled Kaiju number 9 the most with its eerie mannerisms and mind games. This kaiju actually had 2 forms, one of which is its true form and the other is a pretty convincing human disguise. Its humanoid monster form features a set of 5 brains, 3 on the top of its head and 2 attached to the hip, along with no facial features besides a mouth. Yeah, it was pretty creepy. In its human form, Kaiju number 15 actually resembled 𝐾𝐽 a lot, partly due to the fact that she was its target. Without flinching, Kaiju number 15 started ripping into 𝐾𝐽 from the inside out, showing her glimpses of her trauma in order to weaken her. It only had a soft spot for its creator/father, Kaiju number 9, and kept seeking his approval. During its fight against 𝐾𝐽, Kaiju number 15 showed off that it could fly, shapeshift, regenerate, shoot energy beams, and even mentally control other people. It was the only monster besides Kaiju number 9 that was able to wound 𝐾𝐽 and bring her to the point of near death. As impressive as Kaiju number 15 was, it never got its creator's approval. Instead, it died sad, knowing how it was just a pawn all along. Click on this video next, where I explained all of Kafka's forms in Kaiju number 8. Trust me, this one is pretty crazy.